Ooh,
Hmm.
and then immediately into the Sven. Okay. It's a little bit of a changeup. I would have said that 9 times out of 10, Arkosh are probably going to pick Pale Horse Luna, but going for the Sven is definitely a smart choice, I think, in this situation where now you have, again, another initiator, another playmaker, someone that you weren't going to get from your AA. AA is classically one of the best heroes versus Gyrocopter because of how close you need to get to everyone. Your Satanic buildup isn't that nice. It feels like you have to maybe go for some different items. And that's where I think Infamous are trying to shore up their problems by picking up such incredible team fight in both the bars and the silencer. But again, you're picking silencer when there's no Bane. It really is to directly counter out this Snapfire. Hopefully, we won't see Canis Vulpes get baited nearly as much as he did whenever he was playing versus a silencer before. Of course, I think then he was playing versus a silencer and a Skywrath Mage, so his Yules had to be even more breakneck. But I don't think right now Infamous have enough tools to hold down this Void Spirit, especially if Sacred gets off to a slow start. And I think he is going to get off to a slow start because we do have Sven, just the most consistent carry in the game. He's always going to get something, and he's just another stun for your heroes to play with, something that your supports really weren't providing thus far.
Yeah, the snap maybe gets in there with the cookie, but your ancient apparition is a lot more sort of soft lockdown than anything else. So the Sven is going to give them that impetus. That okay, let's go right now. We've got the Stormhammer. We can sort of make these jumps. And if you're Infamous, well, your supports are kind of in a similar position. Their lockdown isn't all that great either. You do have some silences, obviously, and the Coddle will have the Blinding Light to work with, and if he does get that Aghanim Scepter, the Will-O-Wisp will definitely be a big sort of momentum shifter in these team fights, but up until that point, those two are going to be relatively vulnerable as well. So, interesting to see just how aggressively Arkosh try to play here with this Sven pick as we move into the back end of the draft. Arkosh with some interesting bans here, still looking at Alone's pool. The Spirit bans in Phase 2 obviously just kind of had to be made, but now the Shadow Fiend and the Puck in Phase 3 going in maybe a slightly different direction than we would have anticipated.
Yeah, and again, Infamous also just doing their prep work, knowing that Monkeys Forever did play the Void Spirit, in addition to Canis Vulpes, and I think trying to set up a Batrider pick maybe with the LC ban, but no, they turn it around. It's going to be a lone Gyrocopter, and they're just going to put their Medusa in the top lane, and Medusa is arguably Lumiere's best hero, so this is going to be, again, a very tight game from Arkosh if they want to win here, because Infamous, they are the run-at-you team, but that is all going to be so much space and time over Lumiere. We're really going to need to see, I think, specifically from Canis Vulpes, something to slow down this Gyrocopter, because if he does not slow down alone, he is going to ping-pong to lane to lane to lane, give so much magic damage, and there is setup everywhere, even though you would say it's only a spear in that bottom lane. In the top lane, you have so much slow, you have so much just easy setup that I think you could really get baited into those forward positions on Arkosh where they want the farm, they want to push in, and I think that's where they would love to get some sort of counter pick going for them, but they've really banned out the best heroes to lane versus the Gyrocopter themselves, I think large in part because they weren't ready for this mix-up coming from Infamous.
Mm-hmm. They were just sort of banking on the assumption, excuse me, the assumption that the Gyrocopter would end up in that carry position, which, in all fairness, is what we see 90+% of the time, but we did just see yesterday Infamous sort of make that switch up, and Arkosh were, I guess, willing to take the chance and sort of bet that they wouldn't pull that same maneuver again. Now they've got to make an adjustment because their lineup is not exactly a Medusa killing one. I'm sure the Ancient Apparition can certainly help out if he lands an Ice Blast. He helps against pretty much any carry if that Ice Blast can connect, but this final pick for Arkosh is going to have to sort of tie everything together here in a way that I don't think this team had anticipated it would need to all of 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, and really, it's hard to figure out. I think the one hero they might be looking at could be the Brewmaster. They make Canis Vulpes go mid versus the Gyro. Just say, okay, you're going to dissimulate, dodge out those homing missiles, and then we look for something else. But, okay, they do pick up a new Monkeys hero, but Darkseer, it is one of the old better heroes versus Medusa because you put down that vacuum wall, you have that not strong illusion, but you have that wall illusion that is kind of making everyone else on the Infamous side very scared to stay in these fights. But we need some really big team fight execution. They've got the Wombo combo. They've got the vacuum into wall, into Stormhammer, into Cookie, into Kisses, into A Blast. But they need to hit that combo. Otherwise, everything falls apart. That is the only problem with kind of the lane setup they've gone for, is if they aren't relying on each other, their damage just falls short. They simply don't have enough. That's the biggest problem with this Void Spirit. You don't have that much damage coming from him outside of that 15 to 20 minute mark. And then what's going to happen in the mid game? If Lumiere just gets a free time, I can only imagine that Arkosh are going to lose their grip on this game.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, as you said, the Wombo combo is there, but can they actually make the execution happen? Can they get all those moving parts working at the same time? And maybe more importantly, what do they do when that combo isn't available, when the wall is on cooldown? Do you just sit back and do nothing and farm? Because if you do that, then there's a Medusa farming on the other side. So you want to try and keep some pressure on, but if you're so combo reliant, you may not have those sorts of openings. So we shall see how this one plays out. First match of the day getting underway. I'm going to take this chainmail off of my head because it is very heavy. So give me just one moment, folks. Oh. There we go. Some off-camera magic. I'll tell you what, that chainmail is not comfortable, folks. It is not good. People used to fight wars wearing that stuff. No, not about it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Not cheaper. It probably cost you, what, maybe 14, 15 gold? It's really where I think a lot of your starting gold ended up going, but we'll have to see. Because there's always a shop. You know, we get some pretty good money when we start doing some jobs, but...
No.
Oh yeah, I jungled for the first 20 minutes to get that chainmail, and I was reported by my entire team. It wasn't good, but it was worth it for the bit. But, okay, yeah, you know what? We're not comedy geniuses here, but the good news is there's actual Dota for us to talk about now as we are getting into this first match. Seeing Arkosh, well, trying to push their way out a little bit here with Monkeys and Crow. I don't know if this is really going to be any sort of actual play. Might just be looking for vision, because Canis Vulpus, he's sticking to his own side, and you've got the other two members of the team already up top, so... not really looking for a fight, just looking for some early scouting. They did drop the ward, though, on their own side of the river.
Yeah, and I really think they need to do a good job of defending these stacks. Of course, when you have a ranged 4 position, we're going to be looking for those massive stacks coming in from Monkeys Forever, just trying to establish him a little bit more in this game. The only thing and the biggest problem with Darkseer, as I think this early aggression isn't really going to come to anything, is that he's not good at really either styles of offlane right now. You're not that Blink Initiator that we see in the Sand King or the Mars, and you're not that incredibly tanky hero that stands in front of towers like the Centaur, the Timbersaw, and the Tidehunter that we've seen already so many times in this tournament. So how Monkeys is going to decide to play his offlane is going to be very interesting to see, because it does feel like we might need to see Pale Horse get active a little bit earlier, otherwise the lineup might start to really fall apart.
I don't know. I'm interested to see exactly what he does here, but there are some serious concerns, yeah, with this lineup, but it is Monkeys, you know, he knows for the most part what he's doing here. It's just a matter of, does experience make up for what might not be the best of matchups? And we'll see. But right now, look at A. He's just being unbelievably obnoxious, but with him pushing forward, you do see Crow trying to do some shenanigans here on the back line, managed to pull a couple creeps away, doubles back to block the camp as well, so that is certainly going to help. And A, he's trying to pull aggro, and he actually got it. Okay. Both of these supports pulling some moves early, and oh, Crow even gets smacked up by the Hellbear Smasher, so A senses a bit of an opportunity here, and Crow, he really doesn't have anywhere to go. He's going to try for the TP now, and I think that is going to get him out of there, but that is awful for this lane. He's just got to back out early.
Yeah, and it also means that he is probably the one that's going to eat his own salve, and man, that's just really unfortunate. He actually TP'd all the way back home, yeah, so he doesn't even get to have any say in this lane right now. Fortunately, Lumiere did have his wave go under the tower, so that way it will start to push hard into Monkeys, but Lumiere just got 2 full free waves for really nothing and a ton of denies as well, so spot lane is already starting to struggle.
And there's not a whole lot that right now that Darkseer can do about it. He's just got to push with Ion Shell as Darkseer kind of tends to do. So this is the downside of this pick. Everyone knows how the Darkseer plays, and there's not a whole lot you can do to sort of vary that in any significant fashion. So they've just got to hope for the best. But good news for Arkosh, though, is that over in the middle lane, Canis Vulpus, he is off to a pretty solid start here on the Void Spirit. So I think this is a lane that he should be able to sort of maintain himself in. We did see Alone get the better of his laning opponent the last time around in just a frankly strange scenario to get that first kill, but up against the Void Spirit with a point now in the Dissimulate, it is not impossible, but about as close as you can get in terms of actually being able to kill him. Although alone, he's just going in for it. Canis Vulpus, though, oh boy. Both of those players cutting it real close. Canis Vulpus obviously had the bottle advantage, though, so alone does very wisely decide to back off. But those sorts of players are the ones alone. I mean, it's his style to go for those, as sort of nerve-wracking as it is.
Okay.
Alrighty, well, yeah, it's his style, but sometimes it doesn't work out. Canis Vulpus, nice play with the Dissimulate. Had to switch it up the last possible second with the jump there, but he gets the damage, and First Blood goes to the Void.
Yeah, and it is going to be pretty nice, I think, for this Void Spirit. It's just every single time he puts that homing missile, you have the Dissimulate. Only really once you start using that Dissimulate to push out the mid lane is when things get a little bit scarier, but it should be fine. In early levels, I mean, if there's a creep wave pushing into alone, that Rocket Barrage is also just going to get eaten up by creeps. It's the really simple problem where Void Spirit has better wave clear than you, and look at him now. With this slight level advantage, he can just farm pretty much everything he wants.
We have seen so often in this mid matchup, whoever can sort of not just farm the lane, but also get that supplemental farm off to the side, it sort of gets that early advantages. We've got kills on opposite sides of the map. Michael and Sacred able to take down Gremlo up in the top lane, while Monkeys gets the kill on a down bot with the help of Crow. So, well, overall, 1-for-1 trade on the supports isn't going to be too bad, but for Monkeys, that is honestly a pretty big one. We were talking about the fact that this Darkseer had a setup that was maybe not fantastic in this lane, but bullying out the support certainly going to make life a little bit easier for him and maybe allow him to get a little bit more pressure on Lumiere. We are seeing that lane pushing out a little bit further, so if you can try to start slowing down this Medusa, that is going to go a long way, but that pull, well, it kind of works. Okay. A is going to take the other half of the creep wave, and we really don't have a lane anymore. We're just hanging out in what used to be the tree line.
Yeah, the only unfortunate situation is really Crow has his hands tied. He needs to stay here as long as A is willing to commit himself as hard as he has, so no stacks. So the Snapfire, it really feels like you're kind of getting half efficiency out of him right now, and even though you get these nice cheeky kills on A dies so much in his games, especially early on, and especially on the Silencer. It does feel like it's very easy for your opponents to get on top of you, and they just need to keep on finding those easy picks, because I genuinely think they need it. Otherwise, Monkeys is definitely falling behind the Medusa, even though he will be fine with just that play.
A little bit of trouble up top. Spear comes out from
Yeah.
Sacred. That's a nice little two-man game. The Illuminate sets it up. They know it'll hit from range, so Level 2 Spear has the damage, and Gremlo will be taken down. So this off-lane duo for Infamous, well, it's working out pretty well, and, I mean, what do you know, right? Michael, Keeper of the Light, is making the lane advantageous for his core again. It's just, it's something that we see so often here. Sacred obviously appreciating it, and trying to get a little bit of damage onto Pale Horse here as well, as I have missed another kill. Monkeys taken down in the bottom lane.
Yeah. He's just looking for his items. Of course, Darkseer, you need at least 3 little items. Usually it's Soul Ring, Arcane Boots, Bottle, one combination of those two, and then a Ring of Health, and then you're fine. But until then, Monkeys, I think, was just getting a little bit greedy, playing in the small camp, and then just eats a huge snake, and then just dies. Yeah, mid.
That is very far forward. He doesn't realize the two supports are coming over until they're already into the fight. Now it might be too late. Homing Missile coming in. The Dissimulate, though, is at the ready, but he may need it now just to avoid the damage. Yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do there. You have to use the Dissimulate to dodge something, but if you do, everything else is going to hit you. So, Alone's able to get a little bit of revenge there with that kill. Nice rotation in from those two supports, and now, well, they dropped a ward down on the high ground here as well. There's actually no camp, or stacked camp, rather, for them to spot out, but they do have that vision now. They see Crow, and if Crow's hanging out in this area, there's really only one thing that he's going to be up to.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious what he's going to go for now, but at least they're doing a pretty good job of scouting out each other, and you even see Michael just stacking up. Again, they're playing, I think, the more efficient Dota right now, and that's the biggest problem, is whenever Infamous win their lanes, they just always go into that next decision so quickly. And this is, again, all without Alone really making his presence known on the map. They want to make these plays mid, they want to get these kills, especially with a very high-level Void Spirit right now. That one death didn't really set him behind too much, but he's also gone for the farming build, and okay, Alone.
Gremlo's in here to help, so, well, I say help, he didn't really do all that much in the long run. Canis Vulpus took too much damage initially for them to really make that play happen, but the Crow is making his way over. They might continue looking for this, and Alone, looking for the TP out. Crow, does he have... No. He did have the cookie, but didn't get it off in time. He'll use it now onto A, though, so they'll take, well, really the only kill that they have left. But while that happens, over in the north side jungle, Sacred makes the jump with the help of Michael. They drop that arena down as he did just hit level 6, and that is not the trade that Arkosh wanted. A is going to be more than happy trading himself out for a carry kill.
Yep, and it's just this nice ward that they planted really a while ago from Michael, and it's just so hard for Pale Horse. Nobody is really coming to his lane. The AA left him pretty early on as well to try and get some XP mid. It does feel like this Sven is getting pushed further and further back, and I think one of the scariest things in Dota is whenever a Mars gets his Blink Dagger this fast, and Sacred is already making an incredible pace towards it. Once he gets it, again, it's that ability to now cross the river. It just opens up so many objectives for you. It makes defending this bot tower nearly impossible if he really gets it in that 11-12 minute mark.
Yeah, that progress incredibly fast. Top net worth. This is something we've been seeing quite a lot in this sort of meta and across the Pro Series. Offlaners just kind of topping out early. A lot of the time it has been heroes like the Mars and the Tidehunter because they're just left to farm, really. There's not a lot of pressure that can be applied to them, but we'll see just what Sacred can do there. Meanwhile, speaking of pressure, Lumiere, he's getting hit up a little bit mid, but here's where the coddle once again comes into play. Your mana shield gets burned through? No, it didn't, because I can just give you mana instantly. Lumiere really doesn't have to care too much about anything that Arkosh are going to try to throw at him right now.
Yeah, they really do have to be careful, but again, I think that's where Infamous are going to be pretty happy now. One thing that they do so well is when they win their lanes, they move back and then they just make the correct decision. Like right now, they're just farming up in their triangle. They're not giving up too many of these objectives. And this is a situation where Arkosh would love to get aggressive on that mid tower, but you just see them doing pretty much the same thing, but in a worse way because Crow was so pent up in the bottom lane trying to help Monkeys Forever out. So even though Pale Horse is farming a pretty nice triple stack, it's not the same 7 stack on the large camp for Lumiere into a triple stack of Ancients into another double stack. It just feels like Infamous are just so consistent at getting more out of the map, and Sacred's going to have his Blink Dagger in 100 gold.
It's just, it is nice for Pale Horse, obviously, but the pace is something that, by no fault of his own, he's just not going to be able to really keep up with. And now we see some problems here. Gremlo trying for the TP out, but there's just a little bit too much damage coming in. They find the kill into Alone's hands, and I believe A, yeah, starting to get a little bit of intelligence taken away here, which, 4 at the 10-minute mark. It's not like he's going to turn into a massive problem, but that is always something that you're going to have to worry about, especially with some of these heroes. The mana costs are a little high for their cores, so something to maybe keep an eye on as this game goes on, especially if Infamous continue to pursue this aggressive strategy. If they really rack up the kills, could be a problem as... Oh, speaking of problems, that's a nice Ice Blast, but the Global Silence comes in. Sacred drops the arena into the Spear Stun. Canis Vulpus taken down right away, and now Monkeys, that is a defensive wall he throws down. Only gets the vac onto A, though, so even if he could find the kill, it would only be the Silencer, and at this point, A is actually the one kind of looking for the kill. Will the DOT be enough? No. One more tick would have done him in, but he had about 11 HP at the end of it.
Yeah, that's incredibly fortunate for them that they do get to walk out on the Darkseer, but really, I think it's just Canis Vulpus needs to put his nose to the grindstone a little bit. He needs this Yule Scepter, and I think, again, it comes from the fact that Infamous did so well in their lanes. You have a level 7 Silencer in this game, where you get your ulti before he has his Yule Scepter, and they unfortunately showed to make that defense, and again, that's where a hero like the Darkseer isn't that Vanguard, isn't that hero that's able to sit in tank and be so obnoxious. And even the Sand King, I think, would have also slotted into that role. But again, they're banking on the counter pick with the Medusa. They're hoping that once these team fights actually start getting involved with the Snake, you're finally going to have a lot of damage coming from her. But until then, we're playing a little bit of an awkward waiting game because your playmaker is the Void Spirit. And every time you lose him, you basically lose any aggression on the map.
See if they can mount any sort of response here. Gremlo is holding a haste rune. Oh, no, he is not. Michael gets in there to deny it, and now, is this really going to turn into a fight? Homing Missile is on its way, so Gremlo is going to get stunned up at some point, but he's all the way back onto his own side of the river, so they're really not going to be able to chase much further than that, and to be honest, Not sure Infamous really wanted that chase. They didn't have their full lineup there, but now we do see competing smokes. They're just going to run basically right into each other if they continue on this path. See, Canis Vulpes is sort of leading the way. He does have the Ion Shell on him, so that's going to be a little bit of extra damage, but there's no Yule Scepter for this Void, so if he does get into trouble, not really sure if he's going to be able to get himself out of it, but the one in trouble is Pale Horse. They drop the arena into that Spear Stun. Going to throw down the Curse as well. Illuminate channeling out from Michael, and Pale Horse just has no chance to defend himself as Infamous pick up the kill, and now that smoke play from Arkosh, I don't know if you can even afford to keep going, but they are going to move for it. Would be a 4v4 if they take this fight, and they do know the arena's down, but there's going to be the global silence into another Spear Stun. Canis Vulpes, stunned, silenced, dead, and the fight is over.
It's just so good from Infamous. They smoke in between their opponent's smoke, they find the carry, they place a ward right here. That ward is so sick for me. If they don't have that, then Sacred can't make such a clean spear play onto the Void Spirit. That was just such good awareness. They were just like, okay, we just killed your Sven, nobody's pushing in the top wave, we know that you guys are most likely here. It was just completely read out from Infamous, and then they get another freebie. And again, once you lose the Void, the map halts for Arkosh, and when the map is stopping, I think that just heavily benefits Lumiere. There's really gonna be no goes or any shots really dug out at the Snake. I think Medusa is just gonna have the freeze time of her life.
There's zero pressure on the Lumiere at the moment. You see him actually, he's just gonna go straight in for the Scotty at this point. I thought this ulti orb was towards maybe a Manta, but he is shifting things up a little bit in terms of that build, sensing, well, with his team playing so well, he might be able to get away with that, sort of skipping over some of those intermediate items. And over on the side of Arkosh, what has Pale Horse got here? He has the mask, he's working his way towards an Echo Saber, but that's not exactly a team fight ready build.
Yeah, it's, again, it just comes down to pace, whether or not this guy can actually keep up. But yeah, mid.
Big jump onto alone, okay. That's what they need. We talked about it in the draft. They're so sort of reliant on those big combos. When they manage to pull it off there, the Remnant starts it. They get a point-blank Ice Blast into the Mortimer Kisses, but now Sacred wants a little bit of revenge. Jumping in for that Spear Stun. Canis Vulpes, he actually just stepped into that wave from the Illuminate, so he's got to back out. But Pale Horse is here. He wants the fight. The Spear, though, he's going to knock him back, but they do manage to get off that Cold Feet stun. Don't know if the wall... Well, don't know if it was necessary, but at this point you need it. You have to throw it down. Better safe than sorry, as they do get that kill onto Sacred, and honestly, that's a very nice turnaround. They get the initial kill onto Alone, they find Sacred there as well, and Crow's sacrifice is really going to be more than worth it in that exchange.
Yeah, it really is kind of the hero syndrome there. I think they split up a little bit too much. They were farming in all three lanes, and of course, whenever you say that in Dota, the punish is going to come very quick for a team that's going to prepare themselves. And they did the play that they really need to make. Every 2 minutes, they want to sync up their ultimates with these supports and do something with the Void Spirit. Something that unfortunately they don't think they have been able to do until that one moment. But then Sacred also overextends because, again, he knows that they've got a 6k lead and that they have a pretty big advantage here. Well, these supports got to run, though.
Trying to make the play onto Gremlo. They are doing a decent bit of damage to him. The curse will be reapplied, and yeah, Gremlo's just going to get taken down here. Point blank Ice Blast onto Alone, but it's a little bit too late, and Canis Vulpes would not be interested in pushing in on that. So the Void Spirit's just going to chill in the tree line. Maybe once this clears out, he can try and cut a wave or two, but it still feels a little bit dangerous for him. The Yule Scepter has been picked up, so he does have a little bit more to protect himself, but still not exactly a foolproof solution if he does get jumped in on. But right now, Infamous looking to push elsewhere on the map. 3-man smoke from Sacred and the 2 supports. They do have Alone sort of acting as the trailer on this play, and they're going to look for somebody, and they do see Crow in the middle lane. Not exactly the hero you want for a 3-man smoke, but they'll just take the kill, because there's not a whole lot Crow can do to defend himself here. He's just going to get completely surrounded, and they will finish him off.
Yeah, they don't rush it either, which is very important. I think a lot of Marses just shove the arena in their face, but you can still make so many plays now. Yeah, Lumiere he's looking for someone.
Did see Monkeys, but, well, Surge will be popped. Monkeys gets into the tree line. He'll look for the TP out. Sacred, ooh. Well, the spear was in the right spot, just a little bit late. If you threw it first before the arena, maybe it does connect. But as it stands, they're not going to be able to make a play there. And if you're Arkosh, honestly, it works out relatively well. 2 cores come top. You put the arena on cooldown. Nobody gets caught, although I say that now. Pale Horse still has to get out of here safely, but he does have a TP, so don't think he's going to show himself in an area where Infamous can really double back and get to him. Because right now, they look a little bit more concerned with maybe a push onto this tier 2 tower.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they did get the wave. I think that might have been Pale Horse saying, okay, I don't think you have TP on Sacred. I think that I can actually get away with it. I think if Sacred does have TP, that's a way more dangerous play to make, but it's just a good call. Really kind of calculating how fast the Mars has been able to get out. So top tower is going to be relatively defended, and Arkosh make moves towards the mid lane. And this is a really nice play. Just try to get something, get some of that real estate that you definitely haven't been able to get back. But yeah, the TP's flooded.
Multiple TPs, they pop the glyph, they want to defend this. The Ice Blast is a bit off the
Oh,
mark.
no.
They do get the stun into the kisses, but there's the global silence. So it is time to go. If you're Arkosh, don't want to stick around much longer. And well, Infamous really don't want to chase after that either. They did get the early TPs in, but the rest of the lineup was still sort of trickling into that middle lane. So they are not going to commit fully for that. And if you're Arkosh, the global does get committed, but you also don't get that tower. It's so close to being finished off there, and they just weren't able to actually really pin it down. And now you look over on the opposite side of the map, Lumiere is pushing your tier 2 mid, so Arkosh, they need to get somebody over here to try and defend this. Crow is hoping to clear through the creep wave, but Lumiere is really putting the damage in.
Yeah, and it's the problem. It's the lead arrows coming through. You are always just going to be able to siege now. Once you hit level 20 on this Medusa, it becomes an even bigger problem. And I think really missing that kill on a lone mid kind of sucks for them. And unfortunately, Monkeys, yeah
He's
victim
not
of
getting out of
war.
that one. Got himself the vacuum at the end there, but not to any significant effect. And that's another tier 2 being taken down. Now Sacred TPs himself bottom to defend his own tower. So we talked about this so much from the Mars. With that early Blink Dagger, he is such a threat. He TPs to any lane, and regardless of whether he has teammates there or not, he is going to be a hero that can threaten some of these opposing cores. So you see Vulpus. I'm not even sure if he really saw that TP, but he suspects it's coming, and he just has to back away.
Ooh, and it's such a good ping from Alone. They know that Pale Horse is here. They killed the courier with the Blink Daggers. Unfortunately, Sven will not have that for another 2 minutes, but now they're just safely doing Roche. And then this is where the game gets incredibly hard. The game is really going to be about avoiding everyone except for this Aegis carrier. I could see them splitting it up to either Alone or Lumiere. I think Lumiere is already more or less unkillable, so Alone will probably be the one taking it. Yep, just makes sense. Well, Lumiere really doesn't feel like he can die in this game, and I kind of agree with him. There really isn't a good way, unless you have that vac wall, unless you have that AA blast on him, and you take the fight for a good 15 or 20 seconds. And unfortunately, Infamous, there just feels like they're getting these defensive items a little bit too quickly. We've got 2 BKBs on deck, as well as once Lumiere gets this butterfly, there is no good way for this Fen to actually kill her, and he still needs probably a BKB of his own, and then maybe you can start to find some of those, again, wombo combo initiations, but it just feels like Infamous are doing such a good job of keeping themselves out of harm's way. The kills have really ceased. Infamous are definitely not running at their opponents nearly as much as we saw last night, but they're definitely taking it in a very safe and stable direction, one that Arkosh are kind of struggling to deal with right now.
And Sacred,
Oh,
okay,
Monkeys.
looking for the fight. They blink forward, they get the stun down, and oh, Monkeys, he's still trapped up, and yeah, he is going to get taken down. Lumiere finds the kill, and now Infamous directly onto the tower. Ice Blast flies through. Not really going to be able to make a direct connection. They get the flyover onto Gyro, but Alone really doesn't have to care too much about that. Meanwhile, did want to point this out. Michael has a blink and his shard at 21 minutes. This is a very, very rich coddle. He's got more net worth than Monkeys does on that Darkseer. So, I mean, we've come to expect it to a certain point, but it is still praiseworthy for Michael just how much he always seems to find on this hero. And speaking of finding something, the supports are hunting Vulpus. And I don't know if they can kill him. Yeah, he does have the TP away, but the simple fact that those two can just sort of push down there and force Vulpus to TP back to base is kind of indicative of where we stand in the game right now in terms of Infamous's control.
Yeah, and they're just so high level compared to the supports. We're still waiting for both of our second level ultimates on both Gremlo and Crow, and I think maybe if they have those, there's just a little bit more damage coming out from them, but now it's incredibly hard. BKB's done on Sacred. You can't die here anymore.
Jumping on the Monkeys, looking for a little bit of extra damage. They don't have it yet. There we go. Alone, able to connect. Monkeys forever will be taken down. At this point, the Starkseer, I mean, when we saw it in the draft, we were talking about it maybe being a potential risk. It's a risk so far that hasn't really paid off. 1 in 4, and this item build, I mean, it's not great right now. He is looking for that Agnum Scepter, and when he gets it, maybe the Ion Shell upgrade is going to be enough to sort of make a difference, but I don't think it's going to get Arkosh into the kinds of teamfight scenarios that this lineup looked like it was built for initially.
Yeah, and that's where Arkosh, the one thing they have going for them is they have drafted themselves a lineup that is execution based. It's going to require them to. Uh oh, Pale Horse is getting run out top.
Yeah, they're
He,
on
he
to
doesn't have
him.
TP.
He does have a BKB, though, so he could try to turn. BKB active. God's Strength is being held for now. But,
TP coming out now.
okay, TP was delivered. Can he go for it, though? He's actually trying to get back to his teammates first, and that does not quite work out for him. Pale Horse taken down. Global Silence now deployed, so the heroes who came to help are now in a little bit of trouble. Canis Vulpus Astral steps away, but that means Monkeys is the new target, and they will be able to bring him down. So the rescue mission, well, doesn't quite work out, mostly because the person they were trying to rescue ended up dying first, but now, can they defend the high ground? There's a buyback on the Darkseer, but there isn't one for Pale Horse. And Lumiere is just going to sort of stand here and act as the battering ram going onto this tier 3.
Yeah, I honestly think they should just let this one go. They want to look for the gyrocopter after the Aegis is gone, but it's just such a difficult position to be in right now. There's no global, but okay,
Well,
Whip Spear.
yeah, Arena's still there. Nice kisses coming out from Crow, though, so Sacred in some trouble. BKB, though, will be activated, trying to fight his way out of this one. Alone's in a bit of a bad way as well. His Aegis, though, is still in his hands, so even if they take him down, he is going to be coming back up. So instead, they do focus on Sacred. They'll finish him off. Monkeys did get taken down, though. So they are fighting down a man, and Lumiere, I mean, look at the man go. He just doesn't really care about any of this. He's standing in the middle of everything, continuing to dish out the damage, and now Alone, he had the Aegis pop, so he's back up with full HP and mana, and Arkosh, they're just kind of scrambling here. Pale Horse gets onto the backline, big first kill onto A, but they still need to deal with the cores. Lumiere is going to pop the ult and push his way forward, and Alone, with that AoE damage, just tears through the remaining heroes. Canis, Vulpus, and Crow will fall. Pale Horse dead as well, and the GG will be called. Arkosh gave it one last attempt, but when that falls short, they are pretty much done.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, right, you can just say, we got Medusa. We got not last pick Medusa, but we were really kind of forced into this ugly position. They banned out so many mid laners. If anything, you could say that that was Arkosh forcing this gyrocopter to go to the mid lane. But it was a strat that already worked for Infamous before. And again, Infamous continue to find heroes to pair with this Keeper of the Light that just make them feel broken. This time around, we get to see the Gyrocopter and the Medusa, and it feels like they just get to do whatever they want. We never got to see a team fight occur where Lumiere is running away and Michael is constantly chakring him over and over again because it didn't never need to happen. It just always felt like Lumiere never had a shot at dying in this game, and I think that's where Arkosh, they weren't able to snowball their lanes nearly enough. I think maybe once the supports leave both of their lanes to come shut down your Void Spirit, you understand that and try to rotate your Sven a little bit earlier. The one thing they had going for them tempo-wise is that Pale Horse can show up to situations that Lumiere will not, but I just don't think that many of those situations ever occurred, so there wasn't really that easy call to make. And unfortunately, they couldn't win this time around like they won yesterday by just farming, splitting the waves. They tried to for a good few minutes there, but they kind of just ran out of time versus the Infamous lineup.
And, I mean, ran out of time is sort of the key phrase there, but they ran out of time because they had less time than they thought they would have anyway, because Infamous just kept on pushing their way forward, and it's the style that we've come to expect from this team now, right? They're going to run at you, they're going to put that pressure on you early, and you have to be ready for that. Otherwise, we saw what happens. You get outkilled 22-7. It's a pretty one-sided match from there. So, Infamous keep the winning streak going. I believe that's now 5 straight victories for the South American squad, so they are absolutely on fire right now, and they've got a chance to push that winning streak even further because that was just the first game of this 2-game series. Game number 2 is going to be coming our way in about 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll see if Infamous can keep that going. We'll see if Arkosh make adjustments, not just to their lineup, but seriously, anybody out there, if this microphone's working, stop letting Michael play Coddle. Just don't let it happen. He's just too damn good on the hero, and you can't let him have it. I don't know. It sounds so simple, but we haven't seen anyone ban it away just yet. Maybe Arkosh will do that this next time around. So we are going to be hopping into a bit of a break here, but when we return, it will be the start of that Game 2 draft between Infamous and Arkosh. So stick around. Be right back.